Queenstown in the Eastern Cape is more or less the same size as Kroonstad. But the stories the Truth Commission heard there were very different. This is Mlungisi Cemetery, where 11 victims of the 1985 Queenstown massacre lie at rest. The trouble began with a consumer boycott against white businesses in August. On the 17th of November, in the run-up to Christmas, the people of Mlungisi gathered at this church for a report back on a possible decision to relax the boycott. Daniel Lolwane was chairperson of the Mlungisi Residents Ad Hoc Committee and one of the few leaders who had not been detained in the previous weeks. He addressed the people that day.
While I was giving the report, I saw a police Casper, a yellow police Casper, with a Captain Fender in it. They had the camera. You see that window there? It was open because it was hot inside. I saw him taking photographs. It was Captain Fender in that one. And suddenly, somebody told me that, as I was reporting, somebody tried to indicate to me that there was talking outside. So, as a chairperson, I had to investigate what was happening. Then I handed over to Mr. Linda Sishuba, who was my deputy that time. He was the secretary at that time. As I walked towards that door there, as I opened the door, a tear gas canister hit that door, and so I had to push back. And it was that time that I noticed that on the side there was also two Caspers. That is now that one. These two were those that belong to the South African Defence Force, and there were Caspers now surrounding the church building. But the tear gas canister was coming from a Casper between Baptist Church and Moravian Church. It was facing this church. So suddenly there was pandemonium because there was tear gas being shot inside. So the youth was running through the windows. Old people were ducking underneath the chairs. But there were some people running out. What I noticed, because I was standing right here, I noticed an old man, Lizo Ngana, being dragged inside, bleeding. And then he fell just where we were standing, convening the meeting. It's right in front of the pulpit. Then, as I said, there was pandemonium. The hall was filled with tear gas, and there was shooting all over. You could hear the shots. Now, because I was worried about this man, when these Caspers from this side shifted over to the side of Moravian Church, I ran quickly to the second house there to utilize the telephone. So I phoned Dr. Vahet. And then he said I must take the old man down to him, because I wanted him to come to the township because I could see that a lot of people were being shot. By the time I came back, I found the old man dead.
Outside the hall, police were driving through the township streets, wildly shooting. People were frantically scattering across the dusty old township, trying to escape the bullets of the sharpshooters.
Every person was feeling death because people ran into the houses. They could not be, although the police were also shooting into the houses as well. Hence, Mrs. Chobeka is still having a bullet in her stomach now. So the people, there was that tension. You see people running into houses, but the youth realizing that by staying at home is going to be difficult because the police have now a chance of victimizing them by taking them from their parents. Now, what happened was that shooting lasted the whole night. The morning of the 18th, shooting started again because now the police were now terrorizing people in these Caspers. They were shooting every youth, every young man that they could see, and every young girl that they could see on the street.
One of those was COSAS member Tansankwa Kamati. His mother and brother Sipiwo testified before the Truth Commission this week.
Ndihambile ngomso ndaya emoshari. Xa ndifika emoshari yayimbi kakhulu. Kangangokuba ngeli xesha basihlalisile sizokufanisa phambi komnyango lo wemoshari. Kwakugeleza igazi laliphuma ngomnyango lihambe longena edrainini. Bavula ngexesha babevula ngalo sangena ngaphakathi babeleliswe omnye ngaphezulu komnye kangoba imoshari le isikhenkcizi babesicimile ngolunya yayinuka imoshari le igazi lilihlaza.
Did you see the body of your son?
Ndimbonile phambi umzimba wakhe phakathi kwabanye. ndikubonile ndamfumanisa uba udutyulwe entloko.
Her only other child, Sipiwe, who was 16 at the time, was also shot. He and his cousin managed to survive a torture ordeal here at the Queenstown Showgrounds.
The police came to me and beat me and kicked me. He was taken inside him, and inside there, that's where they beat him very hard. They beat him. They tried to wear him a plastic. That plastic where he's gonna be suffocated and die. I was taken from here to the Tilden. I was blindsided. I was tightened up back. My hands were tightened up at the back, and then I was beaten there in Tilden. I was lying down. They left me there, knowing that, thinking that later they will find me there and then they will kill me there.
By the end of the next day, scores of people were wounded and dead. Many wounded were treated at home for fear of being arrested at hospitals. But these were the lucky ones. Some say up to 17 people lost their lives.
I would say, for people that were hurt, I would quote something like 300 to 400. But those that were killed, those that were killed and buried in Queenstown were 11. But as I'm saying that they started now rounding the township. There were people from the farms that used to come to the township. So when they went back to the farms, they were shot. Well, that is why I say those that were killed in Queenstown and buried in Queenstown were 11, but there were some people from the farms that were also killed.
They were laid to rest here in Mlungisi graveyard on a warm summer's day during a typical Eastern Cape mass funeral. The funeral party was surrounded by Caspers, and they were watched by the very same people who had killed them. Today, 11 years later, 17 November is still commemorated as the day of the Queenstown massacre.